This morning we're heading to the Air Force Museum, and I parked my car and look what's there, another Model S. Good day. Tesla's all around. We're just headed to the museum this morning, working our way through the streets of Dayton here. We're getting close to the museum. You can see the decoration out there. Looks like a F-104 starfighter. And over there is the museum. We're going to be turning in here in just a minute. It's right at the edge of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
1,000 feet, turn right onto Bong Street.
What she said. Oh, we're turning on Bong Street. I'm not sure what that means, but hey. Oh yeah, check this out. If you're into airplanes at all, there is just about every kind of aircraft here. You won't miss any of them. They are constantly updating the stuff inside. So let's get in here. We'll get parked. It is a free...
500 feet, turn left, then bear right.
All right, we'll shut Talking Tina off here. We're just here at the museum. The museum is actually free of charge. It costs you nothing to attend and look at all the cool stuff. The parking is free. Nice F-14. It's a very cool place here. All right, well, let's get this baby parked and we'll get inside. Here we are. We're heading into the museum. Big long line of cars here. We're here at the National Museum of the United States Air Force, and I've got the boys. What do you think? That's it? That's all I get? Holy crap. We're here inside of the World War II section of the museum. As you can see, there is absolutely everything of that period here, all in restored shape. You've got this one here. I think this is the one that Amelia Earhart flew, or perhaps it was this one. It was a early Lockheed. I think that's this one, but I can't swear to it. Everything is here. It is wild. Trainers. Looks like an AT-6 Texan, maybe. This one, shoot, I don't know what it is. It says here, it says it's a AT-11 Kansan. I think this may be a Japanese airplane, but there is absolutely everything here. If you've not been here, you gotta come. It's free, of course, but look at this, B-24 Liberator. And it looks like maybe a Japanese plane. I can't tell. Let's see. Shoot, I can't tell. I'm going to have to go look at it. I want to say maybe German. It's got a big radial engine on the front. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Italian Royal Air Force. So this is actually an Italian airplane. Kind of interesting. Awesome stuff. You probably recognize this airplane, Memphis Belle. I think it did a bunch of trips over European continent, dropping bombs. And then after its missions, it came back to the United States and did goodwill missions around the country. I think it was flyable up until it landed here and went into the museum. Pretty cool. All right, what do we got? P51 Mustang. Another version here. What's this one? This is a Spitfire. This was Britain's top line interceptor. Pretty neat. P51 used, this was A36A Mustang. I think this was one of the very first prototype ones. I don't think this actually saw service. But the original P51 used Allison 12-cylinder engine, and the performance was just mediocre, and they put finally a Rolls-Royce engine in it, and that really made the big difference. This German plane, this is an ME-109. Very cool. Oh, this is a Jug, a nickname for a P-47. Had a gigantic radial engine, 2800, I think it was an R2800. I don't know, something like nearly 3,000 horsepower. And of course, the P38 Lightning, pretty cool. I think this used Allison engines. The key to this one was a supercharger that provided high altitude operation. And what do we got? Looks like a A24 B26, which is also, I think, an A26. We've got some biplanes. Oh, look at that, a big giant glider. They did a lot of this during the D-Day invasion, where they loaded it full of troops and jeeps and things and pulled it behind this airplane here, which is a CG-4A, also known as a C-46, I think it was. Ah, dang. My memory's maybe failing a little. Sorry. C-47 is what this is. This was a cargo plane. They made a zillion of them. Over here is a true P-51. Here is a British Merlin engine, 12 cylinders. Look at this beast. Goes through a gear reduction up front to the propeller. And this engine really made the P51 stand up and dance. The Allison was fine, but with this engine, it really made it go. All right. What do we got here? Look at this, a V1 buzz bomb. This was what the Germans used as called a vengeance weapon. That allowed a bomb essentially to be flown unattended using gyroscopes and timers to fly and drop it on its target. And it was powered by this thing. This is called a ramjet. And they've made model engines like this called a Dynajet for model airplanes you can fly today. Essentially, it's a tube, and they inject fuel in it. And the key to it is just this. It's a movable vane. So you suck air through it, detonate the fuel, it blows up and blows exhaust out the rear, and the vane's shut here in the front. And as soon as the explosion's over, the next air is pushed through the vanes, new air, new fuel, and it detonates again. And that's why it makes that buzz sound. All right, what do we got? This is a V2. It's also a vengeance weapon that they would drop on unsuspecting people. It was the very first ballistic missile. It was powered by a combination, I believe, kerosene and peroxide. Same stuff you wash your mouth out with. This is a Piper Cub. I think it's got some military name. I don't know. They use it for observation. This is an older, probably 30s vintage aircraft. Pretty wild. What do we got here? DH-98. I'm not sure what this is. De Havilland. Mosquito. Oh, well, there you go. So this was a airplane made by Britain. This was primarily made with wood. Whole fuselage, wings, and everything were wood, powered by Merlin engines. Very, very, very fast. And we got here Spitfire, another version of the Spitfire. Very cool airplane. This was also, I think a lot of it was wood. Ah, yes. This little baby is the rocket engine developed for this guy, the ME-262. It used, I think, the same stuff, kerosene and peroxide as a fuel. The ME-262 was a swept wing, almost a rocket plane. They would launch it, fly up through the bomber formations, maybe fly around once or twice and run out of fuel, and then the pilot has to land it. I think it was one of the very first swept wing airplanes. And the little spinner on the front was a generator to power the internal components of the aircraft. All right, let's see. We've got this guy, which is the very first turbo-powered aircraft. Let's see. This is the very first engine made by Jumo, J-U-M-O. Very first turbojet engine I think they deployed. A couple aircraft got this. Only had something like 20 hours of flight time, then it needed to be rebuilt. But this is the ME-262. So the Comet over there, I called it this 262. That's not it. Let's see, I'll get it right. Sorry, ME-163 Comet. So then this is the ME-262 twin-engined fighter. Very, very fast. It was difficult to catch. I think the prop planes could catch it on a dive. Where this was vulnerable, of course, was on landing, and that's where it suffered most of its damage. Ooh-wee, what do we got? This is a X4 air-to-air missile. Weird, wire guided, I think. This guy. Oh, Focke-Wulf 190, German fighter plane. They had all kinds of versions of this, very fast. Let's see what we got. This is some kind of bomber. Got another jug here, P47. We've got, looks like a A-20. I don't know if this ever did much, but I think it was active in the Pacific. A lot of machine guns up front. Not good to be there. I gotta find out what this aircraft is. I think over here maybe it's a cargo plane of some kind. C-46, okay. So this was the bigger brother of the C-47. They could do all kinds of lifting of things, like that little bulldozer. All right, well, everybody knows what this is. This is called the Catalina. It's aircraft that will land on water, used for rescues and everything else. OA-10 is what they call it, but everybody knows it as a Catalina. And then, of course, we have a B-29. This was one of the ones that dropped the bomb on Japan. It's here. Big aircraft. Had pressurized cabin, which worked out well because of the high altitude. And last but not least, at least here, oh, look at that, early helicopter. More aircraft. Another helicopter here. Man, I tell you, you got to come here and see all this if you're interested. It's very cool. Yeah, it looks like maybe another version of Zero. Let's see, they call it the George. I guess it's another variation of the Zero, but it's called the George. Well, there you have it. Lots and lots of stuff to see here in the museum. This is only one section of the museum, so I'm not going to do all of them, but I'm here to tell you, you do need to come. It's free. It's open all the time. It's the National Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. This is the, I think, Southeast Asia and all kinds of periods here. There's everything in here. It'd take me 20 minutes to walk around here. It's very cool. This is just an additional area here with everything. You don't see this engine every day. This is a Pratt Whitney 4360. It's got 32 cylinders. I don't see the horsepower rating, but I would bet it's 4,000 plus horsepower here. It goes to a propeller shaft on the front there. Wow. Can you imagine designing something like this? This was part of this airplane's power. Wow, look at the wheels. It's 6 feet tall, and I'm 6 feet tall. If that's 6 feet tall, you can tell just how big this aircraft is. Wow. If you're wondering what this gigantic cargo plane is, it's a C-124. And you see it holds things like this bulldozer and just about everything you see here, aircraft, and it's got this big giant doors in the front, and you can drive stuff in and out. Pretty wild of the time. I think this is one of the very first operational jet planes, the F-80. It's called the Shooting Star. This is in the 50s, I think, late 50s. Pretty wild. Maybe early 50s, I'm not sure. And we come around to look at some of the other jets that were early. This looks like a Sabre, 86 maybe. Let's see. Yep, F-86A Sabre. Wasn't very fast. It took a while to spool up until they put a bigger engine in it. But one of the things that made this aircraft fly was its leading edge slats. You see them? They would automatically deploy. If you'd slow down, the slats would come out, give you good low speed performance. Once you got up to speed, they would retract and provide a cleaner aircraft wing. This looks like a MiG, actually. Yep, MiG-15. This was the Russian aircraft of the time, and it was a pretty good airplane all in all. Used a 20 millimeter cannon. You wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that. This was the engine used. This was actually a British engineer developed this engine. I think the Russians adopted it, perhaps even were given the plans and made it. It was made by a guy named Weddell. It's cool. What do we got here? Looks like a night fighter, one of those aircrafts that fly at night, where it's black and you can't. It's a Black Widow. Yeah, B-26 maybe. Black Widow. Is it? No, this was the Invader. I think this was the night version. Kind of neat. See, we look over here. This is an F-100, I think. Let's see. No, F-84. This was the next version after the... sorry, I think this one came out before the 86. It was longer and bigger, and I don't think it was performance-wise all that good. What do we got? This is a F-94. Man, this must have been a special purpose one. That's big radar out the nose. I don't know what it was for. This jet up here, we'll have to walk around here now. This is a T6 Mosquito. I think maybe it had been an early trainer, or they used it. The twin engine jet up top. See what that is. I don't recall from memory. This was a B-45. Well, no wonder. It's a B-45 Tornado. It's interesting. I don't remember seeing it this much. It must not have been a real active airplane, but it looks like it was pretty active in the 50s. Made by North American Rockwell. Well, it's North American before Rockwell bought it. Oh man, it just goes on and on. Anyway, helicopters, of course. It's the other side of that big transport plane. Hope you guys are enjoying this. It's very cool. Now this is one of the very first Sikorsky helicopters, the UH-19 Chickasaw. What's interesting, you'll notice that this is a radial engine, just like on the front of aircraft. Later on, they replaced this radial engine with a jet. And what's weird, if you look at the drive shaft, it goes up at an angle right up to the transmission between the pilot, and then converts to the shaft to rotate the main blades. Big helicopter. They use them today, believe it or not, in putting air conditioners on buildings and putting antennas on towers. It's been a super reliable helicopter. All right, that's all for this section. This is an interesting display. It's actually the fuselage for a B-29 bomber, 4-engine propeller type. Same one they use to drop the atomic bombs. I'm walking from about the center. Now what's interesting is this is the crew tunnel where people would come from the cockpit up front, pressurized all the way through this tunnel to the back of the aircraft. And then this was the bomb bay. These were where the wheels went in these little things here. And this was the bomb rack where they would load up the bombs, which was close to what's called the center of gravity. All right, I'm gonna make my way forward. Being 6'6", I'm bent over halfway. So this was a pressure door here that is sealed generally, and this was a non-pressurized area here in the bomb bay. And they made a hole here. Now, ooh-wee. All right, so being a radio guy, that box right there is a ART-13. It's made by Collins Radio. It was completely automatically tuned for the year they made this. This was a let me think a second. 376, 378. It's a receiver. And then these are some of the remote controls for the radios. These are old, what's called an ARC 5. It's a tube-based. They were in all the B-17s. I think they were backup radio for the ART-13. This is where the radio operator sits. Let me go to wide here. A little bit better shot. So there's the ART-13, the ARC 5 stuff, and then where the radio operator actually operated in his particular area. If I look around on the opposite side, it looks like console for more gear. It's all missing. And it's interesting. If you're a younger person, you'll see all these wires. These wires are all bundled together, and they use a waxed string to do that, and it keeps them tight. And everything in the old days, as you see, are all point-to-point wiring, just the way it was. Today, circuit boards. If you look at this, this is a gigantic wiring harness that ran down the crew tube and back, and this provided electrical power and everything else. What's interesting, if you look here, you can see each wire has a number. And why do you think that? Well, I'll tell you, the function of this wire with this number, you can look it up here in the book, and that wire you can tell goes back to some piece of equipment in the back of the aircraft. It's kind of cool. All right, so let's head this way. Now, walking up by the pilots. This was one of the engineers, maybe their weapons guy, I don't know. Oh, it's right here. Radio and radar guy. Apparently that's the radar scope. Another place where a crew member can sit. This was the engine controls, and this is the flight engineer's panel. This is the guy that monitors all the systems, engines, everything in the aircraft. He does that so the pilot can just concentrate on flying. Looking down here, we have the pilot, which usually sits in the left side. He has his own sets of throttles that are controlled also by the engineer. And being a B-29, this is as big as it gets. There's not much space here. Being a 6'5" pilot would be difficult. This is the co-pilot seat, has same controls, just the opposite side. So there you go. Another fun fact, all these gauges here, they're all mechanical, right? And the way you see them at night is they're radium dials. So they glow by themselves. Yes, that means they're radioactive. All right, well, there you go. You now can join the Air Force because you've been in a B-29. This is, I think, called a Global Hawk. It's actually a drone. There's nobody in it. Has a lot of fuel. It flies at very high altitudes and can be sent all over the planet and provide feedback, pictures, stuff like that. This is an A-1 Skyraider. This was one of the very last propeller aircraft. They used it where they need to drop a lot of ordnance and a lot of hanging around time for the aircraft. As you can see, lots of hard points here with just about every kind of munition you'd ever want. Pretty wild. All right, we're heading over into the older jet area now. This is one of the biggest airplanes, and believe it or not, still flying today. They keep upgrading them. These are the older engines. They've got turbofans now. This is a B-52. It holds immense amounts of ordnance. Gigantic airplane, as you can see. It's got 8 engines on it. It's absolutely wild. We've got a RF-101. This was a reconnaissance airplane. I think it was, it started its life as a, I want to say an A5, but I'm not sure. It wasn't the best performance, but it sure would go fast. Over here is a F-100F. This is an upgrade of the F-86. Bigger aircraft, hold more bombs faster, that kind of stuff. All right, this wild, look at the pictures. Oh wait, we're on camera. I had to go to wide here just to get this whole aircraft in. This is a B-36. It's one of the largest aircraft ever made and deployed. It has 6 pusher propellers and then a set of 2 jet engines on the outside. And this could fly, I think, all the way around the Earth without refueling. Big aircraft. We're in the upgraded, this is an interesting one. You don't see this every day. 2 P51 bodies with, I think, 1 pilot. I think it doesn't require 2, but it looks like there's 2 P51s on 1 wing. Kind of weird. All kinds of jets, everything here. We could go on and on. But this aircraft here is a B-36. It is 6-engine, very fast, high-speed aircraft. And it is also a strategic bomber here. Kind of cool. B-36, or sorry, B-46. B-46, I believe. Yeah, pretty wild. And it was, I think, supersonic capable. And it has 6 engines. They're all jets. Let's see what it says. B-47, sorry, B-47. A couple things you might recognize, and that is the SR-71, the fastest aircraft made with slide rules. Yep, Kelly Johnson of Lockheed made this, and it was built in the era of slide rules. Isn't that wild? Titanium body. I saw it fly in Norton Air Force Base in California. And when it came out to the tarmac to take off, it would leak fuel out of the bottom. They revved up these engines, and down the road it went. And once it gets up to operating temperature at 2,000 feet or more, the titanium expands, seals off everything. Wow, check this out. This is a B2. Actually, the wing goes there. Have to walk around the front. It's a B2 stealth bomber. It's very expensive, made by Northrop. We're looking underneath it here. No appendages. Everything is smooth, kind of like the bottom of my Tesla. It's a very sleek aircraft. It is a flying wing. This is an F-16. Oh man, it just goes on and on. We've got a B-1 Lancer over here. These are still in operation today, and we're coming around here. Looks like a T5 trainer or T38. Can't tell. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the B1. It's also a bomber. Has swept wings. You can go slow or fast. This looks like the cockpit, actually. Yep, B1B. So if you ever been in one, maybe you haven't, here's what the cockpit looks like. How about that? I think there's 2 or 3 folks, maybe an engineer, I don't know. This is the cockpit of the B1B. This must mean something. I think it means that everybody follows this aircraft. The 509th Bomb Group will follow this aircraft. It's kind of interesting. Of course, this is the B2. See, there's absolutely no appendages anywhere. There's no tail, there's no horizontal stabilizer, there's no vertical stabilizer on this aircraft at all. I can't see over it, but I'm here to tell you that this is it, flying wing. It's got a couple engine nacelles we can kind of see over the top here, and those are very unique in that they fade their own heat, so it doesn't have a heat signature. It's made out of materials that does not reflect radar, and there's an additional paint on top that doesn't reflect radar, and it will essentially be invisible. I think it's supposed to be the size of a sparrow on the radar. Pretty cool aircraft. Of course, it's got a gigantic bomb bay full of stuff too. All right, well, there you go. Yes, this is not a car. Either that or Ford is now making an electric car like my Tesla. But no, this is a simulator, believe it or not, for an aircraft. And they put it in a Ford Mustang with a large engine, try to get it up to speed. So let's see. A couple cars they made. And let me zoom in here. You can freeze frame it if you need to. And over here is looks like a Batmobile. It's called the Vapor Special Operations Supercar. Let's see what that is. All right, so there you go. You can freeze frame those. 2 special made cars. I think my Tesla's still faster, but I don't have all the cool stuff in there like these cars. All right, that's about it. This is an F-89, and just goes on and on. All right, well, that's this section. It's very cool, and I probably missed some stuff. I'm sorry, but you need to get in your car and come down here to Dayton, Ohio, and check out the museum. It is absolutely awesome. Sitting in the gift shop, just waiting for the buddies to show up here, and then we're on to the next place today. It's an awesome museum. Again, you do want to come here to Dayton, Ohio, and come to the museum. It's free, and it's a lot of cool history here, and it's very cool. All right, we're gonna get together and get moving. We're just leaving the museum now. We're headed over to our buddy Joe's house now. He's about an hour away. We're headed down to Hamilton, Ohio to our buddy Joe's house now. It's about an hour away from here. Just into the town of Hamilton, Ohio now.